Today is Thursday, May 24th, 2018, and we are at the Moline Public Library in Moline, Illinois. My name is Jan LaRoche. I will be interviewing Hal Timothy Mettee for the Illinois Veterans History Project on behalf of the Moline Public Library. Tim was born on May 1st, 1947, and is 71 years old. Okay, so Tim, first, before we talk about your service, why don't you tell me a little bit about what your early childhood was like growing up before you joined?
Average kid, not real outgoing in any way, shape, or form. One of 4 children. My dad was in World War II, served with the Army Air Corps, and he has lots of stories, and I've heard lots of stories. I was drafted. Nothing to speak about.
Okay.
I mean, I was in Sea Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, but that's about it.
And you, besides your father, was anyone else in your family in the service?
My brother was in service at the same time. He went in later, but we were both scheduled to go to Vietnam at the same time. And my parents contacted Congressman Railsback because they didn't want 2 of their sons, their only 2 sons, to be in combat zone at the same time. So my brother went to Germany and I went to Vietnam.
So you were drafted?
I was drafted, yes. I started college and I ran out of money. So I had to stop, and they were more than anxious to take me.
What were your early days like when you were first in training?
I trained at, my first training, basic training, was at Fort Leonard Wood. For me, it was not difficult. I believe that you listen to what people said and you did what they said and you don't go against whatever they say. I shot, at the time, they asked my parents to come down when I went to graduate from basic because I shot at that time the highest score on the post. From Leonard Wood, I went to Fort Polk for advanced training, completed that, and was offered non-commissioned officer school, NCO school, at Fort Benning. I went there and completed the course at Fort Benning. I went back and trained troops for 1 session at Fort Leonard Wood, and then I went to Vietnam.
Okay. And you were in the Army?
I was in the Army, 82nd Airborne, 3rd Brigade, 2nd Division.
And what was your job and your duties?
I was a team leader in the field, and I was 82nd Airborne's misleading because you are part of the 82nd Airborne, but you're 82nd Airborne Infantry. So I spent all my time on the ground, in the field. I saw the rear area twice, once for R&R, and I don't even remember what the second one was, but that's all. I was in the field the whole time. I was the team leader, and when I was there, I served as not only a team leader, but also a squad leader, and for a very short period of time was a platoon leader when one of our officers had the misfortune, but for a very short period of time, served in the 3 and 4 Corps. It's the southern part of Vietnam. Had rice paddies and jungles mainly all the time. Very challenging. And for me, I took things very seriously. My goal was to make sure nobody got hurt that was under me, and that we did what we were supposed to do. And I had wonderful people working under me. My team was very, very good, and made it much easier to do what we're supposed to ask of us. Not pleasant. When you're in a conflict and it's political, it makes it very difficult. When I first went into the field, it was basically search and destroy. And then about halfway through, they had a campaign that was called a pacification program. And with that, it became very political, and you could not do your job as you were told. And it made making decisions much more difficult.
So did you have a lot of good friendships?
I don't have a single friend from the armed services. When I went to leave country, my platoon gave me a lighter engraved with the platoon's name, the company, all this, and I did get certificates for different things at the same time. My wife is proud of me. My kids are proud of me. I'm proud I served my country, but I'm not proud of Vietnam.
What was it like when you came home?
When I came home, I had eggs thrown at me, Coke dumped on me, verbally told what an idiot and a baby killer I was, and it sort of made me withdraw, and I really didn't tell anybody anything. I married my girlfriend, fiance. I wouldn't marry her before the armed services because I didn't want to leave a widow. So when I got back, I married my wife, and she said right off the bat that I wasn't the same person I was before I went in the armed services. But 49 years later, she's still hanging on to me, so I have had to have a lot of help, and once I got with the VA, I have had a tremendous amount of help and a tremendous amount of support, and I still am going for counseling and most of my medical needs.
Do you have any stories that you wanted to share or anything else?
There is nothing about Vietnam I'd like to share with anybody. I mean, part of it's blanked out and it can't come forward. And the rest of it, everybody's got stories. It was my experience, and it has been my experience, that the ones that have these wild stories are the ones that were in the rear area supporting the ones like myself that were in the field. And maybe they're stretched a little bit, the stories, and the ones that were in the field, they really don't say a whole lot.
Do you have any advice for the people who are watching this? Anything that you want to say about being in the service, how it, benefited you or didn't?
Service, if you listen and don't fight it. In my case, I say that they said they teach you occupation thing that you could use in the end. Well, the only thing they taught me truthfully was, and I knew how in the first place, how to shoot a weapon. Other than that, yes, if you got lucky going into the training program for leadership, it was a very good experience. As far as if it's a politician looking, don't name things conflicts. Either make it war and declare it, or don't get into it in the first place. That's my opinion.
Is there anything else that we didn't touch on that you wanted to share?
No, I think I said enough already.
Well, Tim, thank you very much for doing this interview, and thank you for your service to our country.
Thank you.